Celeb Savant is a career retrospective type interview focusing on singers, actors, and industry experts. Join Barrett Edelstein now as he dives into the entertainment world.
Ben Provest is a multi-instrumentalist, musician, songwriter, producer and performing artist from Australia with a passion for creating and performing heartfelt, captivating music. After high school, he received a scholarship to study music at the Victorian College of the Arts. In 2016, he continued his studies at the prestigious Berklee College of Music, where he majored in contemporary writing and production. Ben moved to Los Angeles to work as a session musician and was engaged by acclaimed film composer Christopher Young at his studio. Ben also performed his original music at iconic venues including the Viper Room, Hotel Cafe, and The Mint. During the pandemic in 2020, Ben returned to Australia. In 2024, he relocated to Sydney to focus on his writing and his own music projects. He has recently returned from a studio residency at Studio Silo Fish Factory in Iceland. In 2025, he released his single, Trying to Be Brave. Ben is currently in Nashville, Tennessee in the USA, writing and collaborating with others and producing and writing his own solo projects. Up next on Celeb Savant, we've got Ben Provest.
Where in the world are you and how are you doing?
I'm in East Nashville, Tennessee at the moment, and I'm doing great.
How come you're in Nashville? Are you busy recording, writing?
Yeah, I've been over here writing and recording mostly other people's music over the last year, but also a couple of things of my own as well.
Okay, so now let's rewind. At what age, where there's a child or teenager, did you think, okay, I want to be in this music creative world? And how did that journey progress?
I remember seeing a guy that was probably 3 years older than me playing lead guitar in the big band at my school, and he took a solo. He was playing a red Stratocaster, and I remember thinking, like, I want to do that. And so then I started playing guitar, and then pretty quickly after starting to play the guitar, I started writing songs, and I just knew like it was something I really enjoyed doing. I didn't think that I would be doing it necessarily like all the time as a job. You know, when you're in school, you're doing sport and you're studying, and you know, you're doing all sorts of things. But then by the end of like high school, I was like, okay, I want to go to university and I want to study music. And then from there, it's just been like, you know, went and studied and then studied some more and then got a job and have played in bands. It was probably like around 11 years old. I was like, I really want to do music, you know, as much as I can.
And now doing it professionally and full time, what aspects of it surprise you that you didn't think would be part of that process compared to when you were thinking about it at the age of 11 that I want to do it?
Oh, okay. So, I mean, I think when you're 11, you know, you see, I was watching a lot of music videos on MTV and VH1 and watching bands play to like stadiums and I've done some really cool things and I have played to some big crowds and it's not the everyday. I think that the everyday is much more normal and routine like any other. I mean, except when you're on tour, that's obviously abnormal. But when you're just at home and you're like working on your craft and you're writing and you're, you know, recording or teaching or gigging locally, like I think that just, you know, maybe the scale of what I thought it would be isn't quite the same. Yeah. But that's not to say that it won't get there, you know, one day.
Let's put it out there. Now, you referenced that you are writing music for yourself, writing and creating for others. How do you create a song or music for yourself? And how is that different compared to when you're writing for others?
I think when I'm writing for myself, I prefer really doing that by myself when I'm writing for myself because I can just be completely honest and get lost in a state of my own just ideas and I can play all the instruments and I can just like do the thing that I want to do completely without any compromise creatively. But when I'm working for other people, it's much more, I'm really there to facilitate and help them like express themselves. And if they're hearing a part on the piano or the guitar, or they're trying to write a certain story lyrically, like I'm there to just really help them. Even if it's sometimes just saying, like, no, we can go again and come up with a better idea, even if it's not actually me coming up with the idea. Like, I can often I'm in a writer's room and I'm more of like an editor. And so, yeah, I think it's different when I'm writing for myself. I really do like to just do it by myself.
You mentioned earlier that, again, that more of your time is spent writing for others compared for yourself over the last period of time, over the last year. Why has that been?
The visa that I'm on over here in the US, and also just like when you make it your career, it can be quite hard to completely earn enough money to just only do your own artist projects. I found that it's been like a career move to sort of, work for other composers and write and work with other artists and play in other people's bands, because it's been like, okay, well, I'm getting paid to do that. Whereas often with an artist career, it can be it's like a startup company. It's like a slow build. You have to invest a lot of time and money before you necessarily start to earn that back. And so I've found that most of the things that I've done, have been working on other projects.
I know it's very secretive in the music industry. So any sneak peeks or tidbits of any of songs that you've written for artists, other artists that are coming out over the next period of time, and what's happening in your world of music?
Over here in Nashville, there's quite a few Australian artists that have come over here, and I've written with quite a few of them. Chloe Styler is putting out a song that I wrote with her as her next release. Melanie Dyer, she's going to be putting out a song that we wrote together. I think, it's sort of one of those things where you get in the room, you write a song, and then often it gets recorded, but then you don't really know when it's going to come out. And then for myself, I'm hoping to get an EP out in the next 6 months of songs that are kind of in the same world as Trying to Be Brave.
So tell us about that song.
Yes, so I recorded that in Iceland last year. I was doing a residency in the Far East. It was a small town called Stutfjordfjordur, and it was like about an hour flight from Reykjavik, and then an hour and a half drive from that place to this other place. And I lived there for a month with 10 other creative like artists from around the world. It wasn't just musicians. It was like ceramicists, photographers, videographers, like visual artists. And you pay about $1,000 for the month to like live in this town. So it's like kind of like rent in any major city. And then you just pretty much you're off the map, and you're like in a place where all you're there to do is just work on whatever it is you want to work on. And so I worked on my own music. I'd been busy. I'd been producing some records for some other artists in Melbourne over the last couple of years. And so I was like, I want to just go here and write something for myself. And so yeah, it was like a 1 month thing. And there was a recording studio it was a converted fish factory. So they used to fillet fish in this facility. It was like a big building, and some artists about 20 years ago went to this place. It was no longer a fish factory when they found it. And then they decided to just sort of move in there and start renovating it. And then, now it's quite a busy and successful program for people for like all over the world go to this place. And it's subsidized by the Icelandic government to bring more creative people to Iceland. And my friend, his parents are both visual artists. And initially I was going to go there and do it with him. He's based in the US, but the last minute he had to pull out. And then I was like, well, I'm still going to just go anyway. And I'm kind of glad that I was able to go by myself anyway, because it meant that I could just do like my own thing. So yeah, it was cool.
I agree, because I've in the past traveled overseas by myself, and I much prefer it, because then when you're with someone, they're like, oh, what do you want to do? Oh, I don't know. What do you want to do? And that goes on for an hour. And for me, when I travel overseas, I love walking. So I'll get up like at 8 and I literally walk for like 12 hours solid without knowing where I'm going. I don't take trams or cabs or anything. I'm just walking and discover little hooks and crannies. So I totally get what you're saying, but I much prefer it like that.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like I just went to Philadelphia last week, and I just walked all around the place because I just how you get to know a place as well, is by just walking around it. Yeah.
So you wrote that song in Iceland?
Yeah. So I wrote it and then recorded it in the studio there.
So what is it about?
So it's really about when I wrote it, I was sitting in my room and I just decided like I wasn't going to go to the studio that day until I had finished writing something new, like in terms of the lyrics and the melody and the chords. And I just stayed in my room, sat on my bed and wrote it. And it took me a little while, like maybe 4 hours to sort of have it to a point where I could just like play it and sing it on the guitar. And I was tapping back into a memory of when I was living in Melbourne at the time with my girlfriend, and we were going through a rough patch and we broke up. And then really this song was sort of, is saying like, would you get back together? And I want to be a better person going into that again. And more broadly, then it sort of became about just in general, like trying to be brave at whatever it is that I was doing. And so being over there in Iceland is something that an out of ordinary experience that I probably wouldn't have done like 5 years before. So it sort of it took on a bit of a new meaning outside the relationship, but the lyrics and the verses are really specific to a time and a place in Melbourne, like during COVID.
I love me a CD. I still budget for my CDs every month. For me, it's an energy exchange. Thank you to you guys for all the hard work that you do. I love the journey of the choice, the unpacking, the booklet, the listening to song from one to whatever number. I'm unsure if you are or not aware, a massive uptick of physical around the world. 2 years ago in the UK, 5.9 million vinyls sold, the biggest since 1990. Last year, also again in the UK, there's a basket of products that they gauge exchanges on. There needs to be a high number of exchanges daily for a product to be in the basket. Because of the upsurge of CDs again, CDs have now been put back in the basket. And the research is showing that it's the teenagers, the younger kids diving into this world, not in inverted commas, the older nostalgic people. Then we have Spotify and the DSPs that people listen to music on. What are your observations of the landscape at the moment?
I would love to do a vinyl release or a CD release. Like I would love to do that. And maybe for this EP, I will do that. But I would need to get like a grant from the Australian government to afford to do it. Or, just maybe accept that I probably wasn't going to make it back. Because it's just expensive to do that at the moment. And unless you're touring, which I would love to do, and I'll probably do like a short tour in about 6 months' time. But yeah, to sell enough copies to recoup the investment right now is not something that I could afford to do just yet. When I was living in Melbourne, I was buying vinyl. Since I've been over here, I haven't been because I've been trying to travel light. Yeah, I mean, I love buying a vinyl and playing it at home, and I just love reading the liner notes and looking at the artwork, and I just love it, and I would love to do that for my own music at some point.
What do you enjoy about performing live?
Oh, I love performing live. I mean, it's just so nice to like connect with people and hear the feedback on the music and hear how it's connected with them. Often it's different to how you initially wrote it. The meaning behind the song is interpreted in different ways, and yeah, it's actually like one of my favorite things to do. I love writing songs and being in the studio, but I love being in big crowds of people. I love going to shows. I love going to concerts and watching like big artists play. I love being in crowds. Yeah.
I'm that person right up in front who's dancing and jamming. I'll take my cell phone out for maybe one or two songs, one or two videos, and I put it away. I notice these days a lot of people are videoing and tweeting and posting for a lot of time of the show, and they're missing the person 3D in front of them. Do you find that is taking away from people's experience of it, or it's just where society is at this time?
Yeah, I mean, I've noticed sometimes, like I remember Imbra. I remember she played in Melbourne, and she asked everyone to like not even like don't even clap at the end of each song until the end of the show, and then everyone gave a round of applause, and it was really amazing. I don't mind it. I just accept that it's just like it's how the world is. I mean, if everyone's got their phone up, it can be a bit of a mood kill. But like as a smaller artist, I've actually even found that like if you're in a crowd or you're in a band or you're playing your own music and someone puts up their phone, it means it's like, oh, I'm doing something interesting now. Like now I'm doing something good because they're filming me. So like as a smaller independent artist, it's something that I don't really mind at all. But if I was a really big artist playing huge shows and there was like hundreds of phones up, then it would probably be a bit annoying.
Okay, so I love this game. I know if I had to ask this question tomorrow or the next day, I know your answer will be different every time. I understand that and I recognize that because there's millions of them. I'm not saying favorite, as I mentioned, saying top of mind. If you had to push play to 5 other artists once you finish this conversation, who would those artists be? And if you can think of specific songs of theirs, what songs would you play?
Okay. The first one would be this song called Warm With You by Hayden Calvin. So good. I've just discovered it in the last couple of weeks. Melbourne-based artist. And he sounds a bit like Bon Iver, but he's totally his own thing. And I love that song. Anything off the Hannah Cameron album, Holding Patterns, I love. Probably Haiku. This Woodlock song, I Loved You Then and I Love You Still. That song is so good. They're a New Zealand trio. I think they're based in Australia now. Brian Dunn, he's this artist from New York. He could have put out an album this year called Clams Casino. Clams Casino, the title track off that album, would be my 4th pick. And number 5, something classic. Maybe like Straight Lines by the Australian band Silverchair. Just like a classic Aussie rock song when I was a kid that I loved.
Haven't heard of a couple of those. So I need to do an investigation. So thank you for telling us about them. Ben, the podcast is listened to throughout the world. As a final message, what would you like to say?
Well, thank you so much for listening and for supporting some new original indie music. What a great thing to do. And I'm super honored that you'd listen to this. Thanks for listening.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Celeb Savant. Please follow Barrett on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook at Celeb Savant. That's CelebSavant.